the thing. Let's go. Hello and welcome to Squares TV Application Lab number 28, where we talk about, what is it, Shoe to Video Pencil, Beat Sheet, the apps I made. I'm broadcasting this camera on my own camera on YouTube. I will keep the Zoom window private, but if there's stuff going on, you might hear something coming in from Zoom. I am on a group chat on a After Hours Global, Office Hours Global After Hours. So if you do have questions, either to start with or over the course of what I'm talking about, just stick your hand up in Zoom or chuck it in chat on YouTube and that should come through. I am on some sketchy, I'm on my 5G today, so hopefully this isn't too bad, but it's my last week in Edinburgh, and in fact I thought I'd show you some, this is my setup today. I'll turn that, well maybe I'll make it like this. So this was me, this is what I'm doing. I'm on a bed, on this trunk with a selfie stick off a post. This was from Monday actually, but yeah, this is basically my setup at the moment. Once in a while I get a visit from this cat called Bertie. He's sort of very relaxed, just kind of demands a bit of a stroke once in a while. And this was this morning. Hey, look at this. I haven't figured out how to make vertical videos go like vertical yet in Beat Sheet, so you're going to get this horizontal. This was me coming out of the gym this morning and up the hill. But then we did get this amazing full sky rainbow to make up for it across the trees and buildings in Edinburgh. So yeah, news. That's Edinburgh for you. That's Edinburgh news. News for this week. I have made some performance gains in Beat Sheet Studio. I'm mainly working on Beat Sheet Studio at the moment, so that's kind of my focus. I'm trying to get that ready, to start actually like getting in front of people who aren't going to suffer through bugs. The main issue actually turned out to be audio meters. I was updating the audio meters at 60 frames a second, and actually they don't actually change that much because they're just like a little LUFS grid, and it was doing quite a lot of drawing, and it turned out that when there's 3 or 4 of them going at the same time, it turned out that was a bit of a drain. So it's always, you're never quite sure what it's going to be. And also some of the audio infrastructure, I've been doing some performance measurement and seeing, how I allocate my buffers, what works better, what's faster, and also just trying to get that virtual mic 100%, and it still doesn't seem to work in Zoom for me, so that's where we're going. But in other news, first pull request from another developer was merged yesterday. So Humberto is having a look at the code, and I'm sort of mentoring him on this and having him sort of have a look at some of the bugs in, I think, yeah, he looked at one of the Beat Sheet Studio things. And we worked together, worked through that, so I'm getting a little bit of help, and hopefully that will develop in time, and hopefully we can speed up on some things. Another thing this week was I worked with Rob Rusher we're recording some Beat Sheet Studio demos, so I'm sort of taking him through the app, and then he's kind of like publishing those videos and putting them up on his channels, on sort of LinkedIn and YouTube and different places. And if you want to kind of go and see what that looks like, you can go to youtube.com/@RobRusher, like that, and you can see us having a chat about Beat Sheet Studio, as well as he's got a lot of expertise in like looking good on camera and all the stuff kind of we talk about here. So I've been talking to him a lot about all this kind of thing. In fact, he had his camera in log mode, and then wanted to use it in Beat Sheet Studio, but I didn't support LUTs, so I quickly added that in. So it's not very easy to use, but there is a hidden LUT feature in Beat Sheet Studio, so you can use your full log. And then when I'm back in London next week, I think I'll switch my Canon over to log and get a bit more dynamic range out of my footage, because his always looks so kind of crisp and rich. I wanted to share with you some bugs. My link did not appear. Let me just come over here and drag a window across. I saved a document. Oh, there it is. Okay, so I wanted to share with you, there's a Beat Sheet Studio GitHub, And like behind the scenes, that's actually a umbrella product for all the apps, so developers can sort of check out the whole product. But the top level I'm using for as a public bug tracker now. So if you have a look in here, everyone who's been having a look at the app should, you can report bugs under this issues tracker. If you do see a problem, just go and check here to see what's going on. One thing, if anyone can figure out what makes this happen, sometimes the scrolling goes weird and you can't scroll anymore. It just jitters and goes up and down. And I have not found a way of reproducing that bug yet. It just happens very sporadically. I thought I'd figured it out earlier, but if anyone notices that happening and sort of knows what they did when it started happening, that would really help. But yeah, this is, if you report a bug, it will give you some instructions on formatting and what you should include. Videos are great, but even if just something goes wrong, usually, and the Discord is there as well. If you just stick something on the Discord, I'd rather you put it in GitHub, but I will generally sort of link the bug back from the Discord conversation if it hasn't been added directly there. So, what we were going to talk about today. Let me just see that I can't see my Zoom window. I can't see any hands up. Is my eCam definitely working? I don't seem to have any. Okay, we'll see how that goes. It's a quiet session. Okay. Yeah, so shoot in the classroom. So back in 2021, this was. So I had a questionnaire in Shoot which said, what are you using this for? Because I had no idea what people were using it for. So I made a little Q&A and it asked people a few questions. And one interesting thing I got back was a woodwork teacher who was using it in the classroom. So I got on a call with him. And he was using an Apple TV in the room, and he would, just sort of place the camera somewhere and do a bit of woodwork, and the students could all see in the classroom. This was, was this? Yeah, so I guess this was after. I feel, yeah, obviously this was all after COVID, but yeah. He's, I guess as they were coming back in, they were doing this. He had a little trick where, like, if you lock the phone, it would pause on the TV. So he was doing that quite a lot. He'd sort of like turn off the phone and that would sort of leave on the Apple TV the image. Of course, like he was using his own phone and he'd brought in his Apple TV from home because the school had sort of given them these touch screen something or other things that didn't work, and like, so he's sort of like fighting with this probably overpriced official tech, and he's like, there's a lot of going rogue, I think, in education, because you sort of have this bad tech foisted on you and you just wish you could use your phone and your Apple TV and it would just work so much better. But yeah, and then he told me, like, the kids, as soon as you got a camera involved, the kids are all trying to get on the TV, they're all trying to get their faces on camera. So I thought that was quite interesting. But in response to that conversation with him, that's when I added in the Telestrator into Shoot, which is kind of was a popular feature for Shoot, because I just thought, well, what if you could just draw on what you're doing and draw a little annotation, and also added in a little pause feature so that you could double tap and then you could draw on it, and that all came out of hearing how it was being used in the classroom. So now you can pause, draw, show what's what, and it was just talk to people, find out a use case, and that's what happened there. Then when it came to producing, to developing Video Pencil, I worked with Jim Innes, who's an ophthalmologist, who has a sort of very interesting teaching lab setup. I'll show you a little picture in a bit. His lab you can see actually on the Video Pencil website. I'm hung? What? Well, I'm told I'm frozen. If anyone else can confirm that, because Zoom I seem to be getting stuff into Zoom. I suppose I could check YouTube, but then I would be putting even more pressure on my networks. Huh? That is not what it's showing me. That is not what it's showing me. It's showing me the thing that I think I'm seeing. Okay, let's so what you're still seeing an old thing. Maybe if I stop and start the video on Zoom. If anyone's on YouTube, can you just let me know if the video is coming through or if it's just Zoom? I mean, I'll power through, hope for the best. I don't know why Zoom would be showing me something different to everyone else. That's really bad. Anyway, I'll keep talking. I originally demonstrate that I built Video Pencil, and one of the things with Video Pencil, it started out as, you know, just sort of similar to Shoot. You can use the camera and you can draw on it, but it was just a better drawing experience. And then Jim sort of encouraged me to add NDI to it. Because he has his lab set up where he has quite a lot of different NDI equipment, and that turned out to be a really good idea once I sort of got swallowed my distaste for NDI. Added that in, and it was also a really good way to get the app off the ground and actually bring in, like, people were saying, oh, it'd be really great if I could see where I was drawing. I was like, that's just not going to happen. And then I was like, oh, actually maybe we can actually make that work. And now it's kind of the core of Video Pencil. But yeah, I was doing stuff for the desktop, but also it's always had this lab use case in mind, which is why you can load videos in, load pictures in, and it has all this NDI support baked in. So, and then the way Jim's using it is like this. Hopefully someone will be able to see it. We don't necessarily need the audio. So he's got his, can we do a little bit of, so he's got his Apple TV, well, yeah, he's got his stuff there. He's got loads of AV equipment in his lab. And then he's got his microscopes and he's drawing on top of this eyeball stuff. So this is fun. So then I just need to have a thing, which is, do I bring the audio? And this is, I went across the bridge to Dunfermline from Edinburgh on Friday to go up and see Peter Wilson at Queen Margaret Hospital in Dunfermline. And so he is upgrading his lab that he uses to train ophthalmologists, and this is from the train. So this was really great for me. It's a really good way to see beyond, you know, my stuff and actually understand how it sort of fits in his context. And he's sort of like a bit less AV techie. Jim is like really into his cameras and stuff, whereas this Peter was a bit more sort of like, I just need something that works, and, you know, what do I need to buy and how do I plug it all together? So I was like, okay, that should be an interesting visit. I actually got to have a go on this little VR eye thing. So this is like an eye, and it's got these little entry points that the tools go into. But then you look through the microscope and it does like a virtual reality eyeball. So you can pick what operation you're doing and it will show you like what's happening through in VR through these goggles, and you'll sort of like put the tool in and you'll use the foot pedal to, I don't know, like suck out whatever's in there. And it was, yeah, so this is this system that they use for teaching people to do eyeballs, basically. So that was pretty interesting, and I was quite grateful that he let me have a go on that mad bit of equipment. Yeah, I did learn to spell ophthalmology in the end. It's got a PH. It's got this PH and this TH. It's weird. So what he's got that room, but then he's also got a classroom where they have 6 microscopes along a bench. Each microscope has an HDMI output, and he wants to be able to, well, yeah, and there's a large TV on the wall basically, and there's sort of some vague HDMI cabling going on, but you know, I'm just thinking if this video doesn't come out, I can always upload this one, can't I? I'm getting a recording on Ecamm, so I'm hoping that it's fixed on Zoom and stuff. But anyway, the goals of this were like be able to pick a microscope to show on the TV. So the TV's sort of here, like just okay, choose which student to talk to, kind of thing, put their microscope up, be able to draw on that microscope thing. So, you know, like, you've done this, you've got to do this thing here, you know, medical language that I don't understand. Annotate using the iPad, so sort of be able to kind of move around the room with the iPad and see what's going on. And to be able to also have a grid view, to sort of have a multi-view that brings up all of the microscopes at once. So, my suggestion ended up being, and I thought I might just draw this, but maybe I should give myself a little blackboard. So the idea was we have the microscopes. That's a good microscope signal. So let's do a few microscopes, right? Each of those has an HDMI output. So I thought, okay, well, let's get an ATEM. And I did a bit of research, and the Extreme has, 8 HDMI inputs. So you can plug all the microscopes into the ATEM. And then stick an NDI thing on the output, and then have that send its video signal to the iPad, and then that can AirPlay to an Apple TV under the TV, essentially. So this way, you'd sort of go and hit a button on the ATEM to switch which thing. The Extreme has a multi-view button, so you can sort of pick individual ones or press the multi-view button and kind of get what you need there to some extent. So yeah, the ATEM Mini Extreme, it's got, are we getting slides? Shall I close the picture and clear the drawing? So yeah, ATEM Mini Extreme, a router, so just a router that's in the room, not relying on the universities or the hospital's Wi-Fi network. You just join this router with your iPad. So I don't know how that would work with internet. Maybe just get an iPad that's got the internet in it. I don't know. And then an NDI adapter. So and then an Apple TV. And I think that's a pretty lightweight, and you've got to pay for some cables, but I think that's a pretty neat solution to the thing. But some risks that I saw, beyond, I'm probably missing a lot, but one of them is this thing is, it's got a lot of wrong buttons on it. So, if you sort of accidentally nudged one of the wrong buttons while you were teaching, it's like, what do you do? If you just don't know how you got into this weird state. The button you need for multi-view is right here. It's like one of these tiny buttons in the corner. So it's just, you can imagine okay, only press these buttons and this button, but if you actually nudge one of these, you could just end up in some weird unknown state, and that could really derail the teaching. So, and in some ways it was sort of oh, maybe this thing is too powerful, but it does have, we did want another output just to have a direct line to the TV if needed, and it's got some stuff, but it is made for AV tech people, but there's not going to be an AV tech in the classroom. It's just going to be the teacher and some students. So I thought, to mitigate this, we talked about OBS and stuff, but, and having two ATEMs so there's fewer buttons or whatever. But actually in the end, I thought actually unlike a computer, if it does get into a weird state, you can just unplug it and plug it in again, and sort of it'll be back in a known state. And I know ATEMs aren't 100% happy being switched off and on again like that, but it would kind of get you out of those, get you sort of back on track during your teaching. So I think it is the right move. And then I did have an idea, over the weekend, a little shower idea, which was, ATEM's got an SDK, why don't I use that? So why don't I make it so you can switch the ATEM from the iPad as you're walking around the room, add the ATEM in, make it so you just plug the ATEM's Ethernet into that same router, and then Video Pencil would be able to see it over the Wi-Fi, and I could just add those cameras up into the camera drop down, the microscopes, and you'd just be able to select the things on the ATEM, and then I can give you, nice big buttons for selecting on the iPad, and I can add another multi-view button. So you've just got this sort of 7 buttons you need, or the 9 buttons. I wouldn't make it specific for this lab. I'd make it a general upgrade. So that's what I thought. And then you can sort of even hide the ATEM, and you can just walk around the room and you can be selecting cameras, and it should all be pretty fluid. So that was sort of what I came up with, just from having a look around the space, and not promising to do any bespoke stuff per se, but actually seeing, okay, well, this is something that could probably help other people as well. So yeah, what's interesting is Video Pencil really is the key to that whole setup, and it does mean you can do all this stuff with off-the-shelf hardware. Yeah, sort of, do I need some sort of hardware package that I don't know, it's funny because you're spending like 3-4 grand maybe on equipment, and then you're using this $50 50 quid app to make it all hang together, and I'm like, am I missing a trick here? I don't know. But I think it's, you know, that the more people, if it just gets more and more people inspired in sort of upgrading how they're doing things, then hopefully more people will see this and they'll be like, oh, I can get it, and then maybe everyone's got it on their iPad. Who knows? I don't know. But yeah, certainly was interesting to see how that works. You sort of have your budget for the year, and it's like, okay, I've got this much. I can easily spend some of that on an ATEM and a decent iPad. But yeah, like I will never add bespoke features per customer, but I do imagine others would want to use the same add-on, and I'll sort of see how Peter and Jim end up using that. So yeah, there we go. I've actually, okay. I was going to say, yeah, I mean, that's basically it for this week. There's 20 minutes. Usually there's more questions. You know, it is what it is. Oh, I do see... Oh, hi from Jim. Hey, Jim says hi. Jim is on YouTube. I guess, oh, do you know what's happened? I'm not hearing the sounds because of this thing. Okay, I should hear the sounds now from the chat. Hey, Jim. He's here. And he says it's still okay on YouTube, so that's good to hear. But yeah, so what I was going to say was I'm going to switch the order of my cards a little bit here and just say just some stuff I'm working on. So I am back in London next week, so it will be a bit easy. I won't have to do that convoluted setup anymore. I'm working on the bug reports as much as I can. I still have some big ticket things to figure out. Like the audio is still sort of like kicking my ass a bit, but like I'm getting there. It's just sort of it just needs time spending on it, and it's so limited documentation for these frameworks by Apple, like, and you need about 16 different frameworks to make it work the way I want it to work. So it's just you know, it's just copying buffers and making sure that they don't run out of space and that there's no gaps in them and all this kind of thing. It's boring, but it's got to be done. I am continuing to onboard onboard Humberto, so I'll be working with him a bit more, and like hopefully, you know, this does mean that certain bugs will start getting addressed a bit quicker, and maybe some of the older ones that have been kicking around in Shoot and Video Pencil can get addressed as well. I am trying to get some traction on the sign-in for Beatsheet Studio so that I can start thinking about licensing questions, and that will have UX repercussions, so it's not something I can just tack on at the end. I do need to like make sure that it all makes sense and it hangs together properly. But yeah, I see Jim says thanks for the mention. Looking forward to the new buttons. So you're saying you'd probably use the you're saying you might use the ATEM controls, Jim? Because that would be very good news. That would mean I knew at least 2 people that would use my feature. So yeah, let me know. I don't know what the lag is on the YouTube questions, but yeah, I feel a bit guilty about finishing quickly, but I think it's better to be regular if some of them are short than to like miss weeks. So I think this is fine. You can all get on with your days, and I will just say, yeah, thank you for your attention. I appreciate you choosing me out of all the other possible things you could be doing right now. Like, that's something I'm always grateful for. I know it's just my little world. Just remember, squares.tv/discord is where we all hang out and where you can get help when I'm asleep. And this is your very last chance to put a hand up or put something in chat. I will be jumping off. Okay, cool. So Jim's currently using Mix Effect. So yeah, maybe we can just remove it. I like if we can remove moving parts in this stuff. I think that's always a benefit. Right. Thanks everybody. Thanks for joining me. Thanks to the Zoom people. Thanks to the YouTube people. I want to add like a and like a some sort of like end branding, but I didn't have time for that this week. But I think it would be nice to have a proper transition to leave instead of sort of trailing off painfully. But I will yeah, have a great week everyone, and I'll see you. What do I press end on first on the live stream? I will see you all. I've lost my eCam window. Next time. Cheers.